Hi everybody, welcome to Haiku Talk. I'm your host, Ben Ga, your friendly neighborhood haiku poet. And today we're going to be taking a look at a Senryu from the latest issue of the Taj Mahal Review, which is a nice journal that comes out twice a year from India. And the poem is called A New Strain, and it comes to us from Liv Saint-James. So going ahead, grab yourself a tasty beverage, and let's get to some Senryu. All right, welcome back. So we're going to take a look at a Senryu today. And most of the Senryu that I've had on this channel so far has been more the serious-natured Senryu. We've dealt with all sorts of more of the darker colors of the crayon box, as I like to say. This one is a little bit more on the lighter side, which is where Senryu typically ends up. And not to say that it doesn't have a little serious message to it, but it is more lighter. And yes, it is warm and sunny here in St. Louis. I've got my windows open, and so with that, you get lots of ambient noise. Nothing I can do about it. Can't shut down the city to make my peace. So we'll do with it what we can. So as I said, this comes to us from the Taj Mahal Review, which is a journal that comes out of India twice a year. This is the actual their December issue, but with the postal service, and depending on when you order it, it comes a little bit later in the year than right when the year starts or the year ends. And I wanted to feature this one because it's maybe people aren't very familiar with this journal. It's not exclusively haiku. It's got a lot of other stuff in it too, but they always have a section of haiku and senryu in there, and I'm happy to be featured in this one. And this poem, when I read through it, it just seemed like a good timely piece, and one that I think that we can all enjoy. So, without further ado, let's get to that Senryu. So Liv Saint-James writes this. A new strain. Children playing COVID tag. A new strain. Children playing COVID tag. Very nice. And you can see where I mean that it's fun, but it's got a little bit of dash of seriousness in it too. So as we do, I'll talk about how this is put together, and then we'll go through this line by line. So this definitely follows the fragment and the phrase construction, where we have the fragment being the first line of a new strain, and then the phrase being children playing COVID tag, which is very nice. And the fragment and phrase, I know we see that a lot, and it is a common use tool to bring a haiku or a senryu together. And again, haiku and senryu are all about juxtapositions. It's taking two images, putting them together, and because of the tension between the two, you get a moment that pops. And something like the moment that's being displayed, that unfolds before you really moves, it becomes something. It gives you that aha moment that you might have heard of or hear of or read of when you hear about haiku. And there are other techniques that people can use too. One of my favorites is called a middle pivot, where the middle line speaks to both the first line and the last line. But in this case, it's really the juxtaposition of that fragment and that phrase together that make it interesting. And if you're writing or reading senryu or haiku, that definitely keep this technique in your toolbox. And if you're new to it and you're reading haiku, keep that in the back of your head as you read these things and see if you can figure out how the juxtapositions work together. And again, that's why I do explain how these poems work each time, so you get an idea that there is something more going on than just people putting lines on a page. And in this case, we have the fragment and the phrase. So now let's break it down line by line and see what Liv Saint-James is doing here. Pardon me. Tasty. Tasty beverage. Okay, so line number 1, a new strain. A new strain. It's uh, it's a good line. It definitely grabs your attention, and it's one of these great lines that raises some tension because it kind of gets your attention. It raises the backbone like a new strain. What does that mean? I think we all know in this going on to our third year of pandemic, we all know when we hear the phrase a new strain, or in this case the fragment, a new strain, what that might mean. And all, your mind and your body, everything engages to react to what is triggered by this suggestive bit of language. So it's a really great, strong first line. It sets you up. You want to know what's coming next. And we'll go into line 2, and line 2 is children playing. Children playing. Now that's not necessarily where you'd expect it to go after the line 1 of a new strain, because usually when we hear about new strains, that brings about lockdowns, that brings about face masks and social distancing and all sorts of stuff that restricts our interaction together. But in this case, we go to children playing, which is interesting. And immediately it's a bit lighter. It lightens the mood, lightens the tone, and it makes it seem more fun and playful, which is where Senryu generally reside, in a very more playful human nature, look at human nature. And then, so what are they playing? We want to know. So we hit line 3, which is the real clincher, which is COVID tag. COVID tag. And this one, it hits home with the seriousness. It definitely ties a new strain directly to COVID, which is where everybody's mind probably goes right now anyway. But it makes it a game, which as adults we don't ever really think about. But I got to tell you, when I read this, I immediately went back in time to when I was a kid and played tag. And I don't know, there's all sorts of versions of tag you can play. I think some of the favorite ones are freeze tag and lightning, flashlight tag, tackle tag, any normal kind of kid games. And it just kind of really hits at the ingenuity of children and how they're able to make something out of nothing. I don't know, for me, I was still of a generation that you basically, when you're at home, you get sent outside to play by your mom or your dad. Just go out and play, or go down in the basement and play while the adults hang out upstairs. And I don't know what you're going to do. You figure it out, And so as kids, you figure it out. You come up with things. And so the idea, the ingenuity here of kids coming up with a game called COVID Tag in light of a new strain just seems very true, very real. Definitely speaks to the ingenuity that I had in my own childhood, and I got to imagine that doesn't go away no matter what year it is. Kids are going to find a way to play. Tag is a common game. They're going to find a way to make it fun. And so this is just a fun, lighthearted poem in the wake of the heaviness of COVID that just kind of reminds us that we will always kind of find our way into the lighter colors of the crayon box. We'll find a way to make whatever we're doing, whatever hardship we're in, to be fun. Or at least we have the opportunity to make it fun. We have the opportunity, we have to take it upon ourselves to take a bad situation and say, well, let's make a game out of it. Let's try and find some way to make this fun. Let's try some way of making this entertaining. That's what we were forced to kind of do as kids when you get a bunch of kids together and, all right, go have fun. Go have fun, kids. Figure it out. See you later. Be back when the street lights come on, In this case, these kids that we're experiencing in the poem, they've come up with a new game called COVID Tag. And what's great about this is that, is the case with Senryu and Haiku, it never gives you too many details. It only gives you enough to recognize what the moment is, and then you bring yourself to the poem, you bring yourself to that moment and fill it in. And in this case, make up your own idea of what COVID Tag might be like. Imagine yourself playing. Imagine watching kids playing, your own kids playing. People in the park or hearing about it. Your kids come home from school. They tell you about, we played COVID tag today. It's a new game that so-and-so made up. And, it's nice. This is a nice kind of fun poem which we need right now. We all need a little light, a little levity. I know this warm spring air and the sunlight is certainly helping me and helping people in this region to kind of, lift your spirits up a little bit. So thought I'd throw this one out there for us this week. So thanks again, Liv. Thanks again, Taj Mahal Review. And thank you for tuning in, checking me out, checking out this episode. If you like it, subscribe if you feel so inclined. And if you do like and subscribe, ring the bell so that you'll be notified when new episodes are available to you. So thank you very much, and until next time, cheers.